Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Chris with InsideTheU. So we just wrapped up the first spring practice. In this video, I want to talk about my reactions. We were able to get quite a bit of viewing period from 30 minutes to about 45, so we got to be out there quite a bit. Saw a lot of drills, a lot of excitement, even though there were no pads, but still a great day overall. And also just kind of my reaction to Mario Cristobal speaking to the media after practice, along with Tyler Van Dyke, Jake Garcia, Gilbert Frierson, and Jafari Harvey. So let's get right into it. I guess I just want to start first off with the quarterback position. I paid a lot of attention to this, a lot of drills with Van Dyke in particular, and obviously Garcia, but certainly Jakari Brown as well. Peyton Matoka was out there, Ryan Rizek too. So all these guys were going through drills, Frank Ponce coaching them up. And the thing that stood out to me with the drills I was watching, and I'm just to let you guys know, I'm going to post those videos of the drills on the channel, so definitely subscribe if you haven't yet, so you don't miss anything. Okay, so what I saw from the drills was Coach Ponce really worked on these guys on a number of rollout passes. I found that to be interesting because certainly talking to people that have played under Coach Ponce and just his style of play, certainly rollouts are important, you know, being able to throw on the move. And so one of the drills, once again, you'll get a chance to see it yourself, but one of the drills was quarterbacks roll out and then they throw into a net. They work on their accuracy, and I thought that was good. All the guys did a pretty good job of it. And one of the things that stood out to me was, so they took that drill, working on the rollouts, and then when we got to see some 11-on-11 action, and we couldn't film that, but we could be out there and watch it. But I got to see it translate completely to the field, in particular with Tyler Van Dyke, how to roll out to his right. You know, he's a right-handed quarterback, rolls out to his right. Xavier Restrepo started off on the left slot and then came across, like typical slot receivers do, came across to the right side of the field while Van Dyke was rolling out, and Van Dyke threw a great pass to Restrepo right inside the sideline for about a 15-yard gain. Good catch, obviously good route, but a really good throw by Van Dyke, and that's what you want to see as a coach, you know, any observer. You want to see drills with no defense translate to field work with the defense, whether it's 7-on-7 work or 11-on-11, and just seeing that snippet there, I thought was great that he was able to, you know, translate that into game action. So that was good to see. I like seeing that. Just sticking with Van Dyke a little bit, made some good throws today. He did throw an interception, but it was a really nice play. Ball goes over the middle, but a really nice play by James Williams. It looked like he might not have got it, but he definitely did. It was just a good overall pick. And then certainly, I talked about this recently, but it's good to see a defensive back not just pick off a pass, but get upfield a little bit on a big return. So a good start for James Williams today at practice. Let's stay with the defensive side of the ball. There's some more offensive things that I want to get into, but on defense, one of the things is, first off, a number of guys are out this spring. There'll be a complete article on InsideTheU.com with all the guys who are out, who are supposed to be limited. A few guys, a couple guys I'll just give you real quick, but Don Chaney Jr. coming off the injury, and then Jalen Knighton. Both were out there today, but they're considered out for the spring. So just a little disappointing there, but there's other backs. And let's get right into that, and then we'll skip over to defense. Thad Franklin has a great opportunity in the spring. I thought he looked good on some cuts today. He's getting upfield, and I know many of you are excited about some of the things you saw late last year in his freshman year. Can it translate to a big year? And I think a lot of guys in their second year will be looking to have big years, particularly on wide receiver, but certainly a guy like Thad Franklin for sure. You know, he looked good, you know, he's got good size, but this is a big spring for him, especially with those two guys out. He can really solidify himself on the depth chart. And, you know, although a lot of people are expecting Knighton and Chaney to have big years, they're not coming off the greatest of seasons. You know, Chaney didn't play much, and Jalen, you know, under 4 yards a carry. So a guy like Thad, maybe he's going to be the guy. You know, he can look at this as it's not in cement. He can have a big spring, and so I'll be looking to see if he continues to look good out there. I thought Henry Parrish looked good today. Thing that stands out to me about Henry, you know, seeing it in high school, and you saw it today, first day of practice, but just his cutting ability. He does a great job. Again, no tackling, but just does a good job of lining up defenders and then planning and cutting left or right. And I thought he did a good job of that today, so that's good. Because that's his strength. That's where he's at his best. So just kind of going back to the defense, what I want to talk about is the linebackers. There are a few things that stood out to me. First off, it was great to see Wesley Bassane out there, freshman dealing with an injury in the offseason since he's arrived, but he was out there, moved well. He was mostly getting second team work, but I thought he did good. He looked good in drills. I just think it's good that he's out there. It's not a wasted spring where he's going to come back in the summer or fall or anything like that. He was out there getting reps. That was great to see. And then also with the linebackers, you know, guys that were playing the striker position last year, new defense under Kevin Steele, but Gilbert Frierson spoke after practice and he feels like it's basically the same thing. And he was out there with the linebackers, Keontra Smith, linebacker like last year, you know, and Chase Smith will be a linebacker when he's out there too, based on the roster there that we got, you know, before practice, and we'll definitely post updates from the roster on the website there. But you know, that's what stood out to me with the linebackers, but also not just that Wesley was out there, but they rotated a couple groups in. Let's start with 11 on 11 action. The first team rep that got out there was an inside run play, inside run drill, and Keontra Smith and Wayne Steed were the two linebackers out there. And then when they switched to 7 on 7 action, the top two linebackers that were out there switched a little bit. So they just went with a different pairing, and then we saw Corey Flagg out there along with Avery Huff. So it's just something to monitor, and as we watch more of spring, we'll be able to determine maybe who's getting more reps. But both groups, a lot of guys out there. It's not a surprise. Linebackers, certainly a lot of competition there, and you know, so that's what we saw from the linebacker spot. Let's flip it back to the offense. Let's talk about wide receivers. To me, this is a position battle. I'm very interested in seeing how it shakes out in the spring, because I feel like there's a lot of talent there, but also there's a lot of different types of wide receivers. Very curious to see how a guy like Xavier Restrepo performs, you know, with another year under his belt. And one thing I could say about X there, he was the first in line at every drill. You know, he took every rep. He was the first guy in line, and he took every rep there. I think that's a good sign. You know, doesn't mean everything, of course not, but it's a good sign when guys are stepping up and they want to be that guy, that leader. And I think that was a good sign that that's just who he is. And like I said earlier, he made that really nice catch on the sideline. So he's, you know, translating some drill stuff into game action as well. So that's good to see. Frank Ladson is a guy that I'm particularly personally interested in. You guys know I followed him quite a bit in high school. Frank looked good today. He's listed at 6'3", 205. Looked all a bit of that today. Looks good. He's a guy that I think, if we're talking about a guy that could step up big time from a year ago, or what he's done, you know, when he was at Clemson, have like a breakout season. You know, Frank's a guy that I'm certainly excited about, and I feel like it starts in the spring. Let's see how it shakes out for him. He's wearing number 8. Many of you are curious about the newcomers, and all 11 guys, I think there's 11, all the guys have their numbers, so that's good to see. But Frank's wearing number 8, Parrish, a guy, he's wearing 21, that I mentioned earlier, and Jakari Brown wearing 11. So once again, we'll get into all the numbers there, but good to see Frank. You know, Jacoby George. So kind of the first team reps with wide receiver was Restrepo, Keyshawn Smith, and Jacoby George was up there. And Jacoby's another guy that has shown flashes. He's a guy that I'm, you know, excited about. I think he has a chance to have a bright future. He looks good, and this is a big spring for him with this opportunity. And if he's on this first team, let's go make plays. You know, when you're out there, we got to take advantage of opportunities. So we'll see how Jacoby does moving forward, but he did make a couple nice catches. There was one play in particular that, you know, short pass, they get him the ball, try to get him the ball in space, and then he gets upfield. One thing also I noticed with the wide receivers was, you know, they tried to connect on some deep balls and they just weren't on target, or the wide receivers weren't open enough, or whatever it might be. But just when we were out there, we didn't see them connect with deep balls, or I didn't see them connect with deep balls. So hopefully that they get that fixed. And you know, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Charleston Rambo, last year leading receiver, talked quite a bit about how good Tyler was at throwing the deep ball. So I expect other receivers, you know, obviously Charleston's not here, but I think, you know, once they get on the same page with Tyler, you know, once they get some practices under their belt, and the way it's going to work is they're going to go every other day in the spring, pretty much, particularly this week. They'll go 3 on, and then they'll have a week off for spring break, and then but 15 practices in the spring, mostly in the mornings, I assume. So anyways, kind of moving right along. Other things that stood out to me: Leonard Taylor, first team D tackle, not surprising. You know, maybe a little surprising, but Jake Lichtenstein, you know, the transfer from USC, was up there with the first team quite a bit as well. You know, another guy that stood out to me, or just that I noticed, you know, Cyrus Moss. People are excited about this freshman. Played, when I was watching him, kind of playing that left defensive end spot. Certainly a thin guy, but certainly there's ability. A couple plays I watched, he showed a really good burst off the line of scrimmage, so just a good start for him. You know, kind of just bouncing around a little bit more, touched on the linebackers, the secondary. It's going to be a big spring for James Williams. You know, so we'll see how he does. A good start today with the interception. And then kind of just going back to the offense a little bit, I didn't get to pay too close attention to the offensive line, but we've got more practices to get to. I will definitely lock in on that. One of the things that makes it a little difficult is offensive line is just like it's been in years past, right? Most of the time they're working at the other end of the field, but I will definitely have a full report on the offensive line, maybe next practice. It's just hard to see every single position group, but these are just the things that stood out to me today. I do want to mention after practice, Cristobal was certainly excited to get back out there. He's had a tough time. You know, his mother recently passed away and has a service today, so that was certainly, you know, something difficult, but he just spoke a lot about how, you know, his mother would want him out there at practice and was a big supporter of his, so he mentioned that to us, so that was good to hear, even in difficult times. And you know, he was just excited to be out here, and it's real to him. You know, I feel like he's going to speak like this quite a bit about how it still hasn't sank in, or he's still getting used to it. He mentioned this journey started 25 years ago, so it's interesting to kind of see this full circle thing go with him. Other thing that stood out to me, post-game or post-practice interviews, Van Dyke spoke, but Jake Garcia, you know, he spoke after practice, and we didn't get a chance to speak to him much last year after he goes down with an ankle injury, has surgery, misses the rest of the year. And I know, and I'm going to post the video of his interview, but you know, Jake mentioned that he suffered the injury in the game there, his last game that he played, and that was pretty much the only game he played. But there was a time where as soon as the run happened, he felt like he's like, oh, I think I broke my ankle, but he told himself he hadn't thrown a touchdown pass yet in the game, so he wanted to stay in the game, kind of tough it out. They go into halftime, he said he was working on stretching it out, and then he comes back in the second half and throws touchdown passes. You know, Brinson and George, a couple guys there, so he was happy to get a couple of touchdown passes, even though he was dealing with the injury, and certainly he was disappointed, but he's glad to be back. You know, another guy just glad to be back out here. You know, so there was a lot of positives. Van Dyke, you know, he's working to get better, he said. Once again, I'll post a full video on what Tyler had to say after practice. But, you know, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to get to these video highlights. So like I said, definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I'm excited. Hopefully can show you guys some quality video, not just today, but moving forward. I definitely want to give you guys as much video as possible. And like always, if there's something you want to see with the channel, or something you want us to ask or to write about on the website, definitely drop in the comments. Definitely let me know. I always like hearing from you guys what you guys want to see in terms of the channel or the website. So thanks again for watching, and take care.